Hi everyone, Dreki here, and today I'm reviewing the SmoothQ Gimbal Stabilizer. I believe that gimbal stabilizers are something every content creator who films handheld video should have, whether they use a smartphone like this one does, a full-sized camera, or an action cam. The difference it makes in smoothness and production quality of handheld video is mind-blowing. If you're wondering what it does, let me demonstrate. When it's turned off like this, it looks rather sad and limp, but let me turn it on and watch it snap into place. It holds my phone steady as I move my hands back and forth, up and down, and turn side to side. So really what it's doing is correcting the bumps and jostles, and that makes it an invaluable tool. The SmoothQ is currently $99 on Amazon, which makes it one of the cheapest stabilizers on the market, and if you're a kind of person who does walk and talk vlogs, or a lot of handheld video with your phone like skiing video or skateboarding video, it can be an excellent tool to just make things look so much smoother. It does a pretty good job with stabilization, but it does have a couple limitations, so I'll tell you about those in a moment. First, let's talk about the build quality. This stabilizer is almost entirely plastic, but it feels pretty solid. It comes with a nice little hard case too. There's a 4-way trigger for the stabilizer to control the direction it points, as well as a zoom button, a mode button, and a power button. The stabilizer also has an app which you can use for tracking, but I found the app to be mediocre at best. It even has a USB port so you can charge your phone while it's being stabilized. The guide says that this fits up to 6-inch smartphones, but I found that I was pushing the limit at 5.5 inches, especially when I was using a case. The majority of testing I did with my stabilizer combined it with the Xiaomi Mi A1 and my older LG G4. It fit the A1 great, but the G4's awkward shape made it difficult to balance. Keep this in mind if you have a bigger device, it may not necessarily fit. As I mentioned earlier, stabilization quality is very good, especially if you're using a camera that already has its own stabilization built in. Let me start by showing you a handheld skiing shot, where I'm not using a stabilizer at all. I'm just doing my best to hold the camera still, and as you can see, it's not working very well. Before you get sick of the shaking, I'm just going to quickly switch shots here. Now, here's a shot taken with this stabilizer by my dad, who had never used it before. This is his first time. Look how great this is. My instructions to him were literally point forward and turn your wrist to turn the camera, and that's all the introduction he got, so wow, I was surprised at how good this turned out. I find that the SmoothQ is best to correct bigger bumps and jostles, and it occasionally misses smaller, more jarring twitches. If your camera has built-in electronic stabilization, it fixes those smaller bumps and makes the video near perfect. Even if it does not, like this sample clip from the Mi A1, the stabilizer does correct a lot of the jostling and the rest can be done in post-production, in software. Here is not stabilized again, and this is practically unusable. For the next test here, I'm using an action cam, walking and running. We'll start with the unstabilized clip again. And now let's fade into the clip where I use the SmoothQ. Let me know what you think of the difference in the comments. As I mentioned earlier, the SmoothQ does have an app with some additional functions. On the app, you do have the option of doing 360 degrees or tracking. The most important function if you want to use an action cam with this is the Selfie Mode. Tap the mode button 3 times and the stabilizer reverses the direction it's pointing. A further single or double tap of the mode button will change whether you can control pan and tilt with the stabilizer toggle or whether it's just an automatic point forward mode. One of the things I noticed while filming with this is that it is necessary to adjust your filming style to get perfect footage, because a stabilizer does limit how fast you can pan and tilt and point in certain objects. It's best for filming when you have an already defined path, like if you're following a friend on skis, or if you're walking and talking, or you're following someone on a skateboard. It's not so great for catching spontaneous things that you weren't initially focused on, like, say there's an explosion off to your left, you try and pan to that, but it takes a while to get over there. It's not going to be an immediate jump like if you were using your arms. I also found sometimes the stabilizer would lose balance and need to be reset, especially when the battery was getting low. That's one of the reasons I suggested not using a phone bigger than 5.5 inches. It was mostly a problem with the bigger phone because I couldn't get it to balance correctly, and sometimes the angle would be a little bit tilted on the horizon. I also noticed that if things were too light, it wouldn't work so well either. Some of the cheap action cams I tried it with would cause it to glitch out and make a high-pitched whine from the motors unless I added extra weight to them. So just keep that in mind. You may have to rig up some extra weight for your cheap action cam if that's what you want to use this with. Overall, the stabilizer is almost a no-brainer, especially if you film a lot of handheld cell phone shots or action cam shots. It's relatively cheap, it works 95% of the time, and it can improve the image quality of your footage remarkably. If you're the kind of person that does any sort of handheld shots, I would highly recommend something like this. Whether or not this is the product for you, well, that's to be determined, and $99 is a pretty low barrier to entry for these things. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and tell me what you think of the stabilizer. If you like or subscribe, I really appreciate your support.